Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm here with a brand new video card review. Now don't worry, CSGO content will come very soon to this channel, but today we're going to be looking at ASUS's GTX 1060 Strix Republic of Gamers 06G card. And yes, the O does stand for overclocked. And considering Nvidia's bold claims about the 1060 hitting about 980 performance, is the 1060 really an impressive mainstream card? Does it cut it for 1080p gaming? And is it worth the investment of this particular model? Let's find out. So first of all, I ran all my benchmarks in the OC mode for this card, and that mode you can actually acquire by downloading the ASUS GPU Tweak 2 tool, and then you basically click on the card to run in the OC mode through the one button click. So if you're wondering why the benchmarks are a little bit weird, it's probably because of that. I'm getting the card to basically run at the maximum that it can run at, just based off the defaults that ASUS allows. Now, like all the 1060s, this boasts 6GB of GDDR5, unless of course you're looking at the 3GB models, which obviously has less cores. But this comes with a factory overclock in the OC mode, which gives you basically a 1645 MHz base clock and an 1873 MHz for the boost clock. So that's actually basically about an 8% overclock for the boost clock. And it also comes with 3 direct CU3 fans, 2 HDMI ports, a DVI port, and 2 display ports, and of course RGB LED lighting, which is really the big attraction for this card. Now, speaking of RGB, ASUS allows you to tweak the card's LEDs with the Aura software suite, and it has a whole bunch of modes. So these are the static color mode, which is just one color all the time. You have breathing color, then you have strobing color, which is kind of like breathing but a little bit less smooth in terms of the transition. It's kind of like an abrupt cut. Then you have spectrum cycling, where it goes through all the colors, music sync, where it syncs to your music that's being played, and finally temperature mode, which goes from green to orange to red to show how hot your GPU is going. Now, the card uses an 8-pin power connector, with the card sporting a stylish matte black finish and a black backplate, which fits overall with a very Transformers-like theme. And for someone working with a black build, it's actually really cool and pretty stylish and futuristic. Now, my only complaint for the aesthetics is that the card has really small RGB lights. It basically doesn't light up as well as my 1080 for the win, and for someone who might want to have that really in their case on display, and that's the main reason why they're buying the card, they might be a little bit disappointed. Now, they may need to invest into aftermarket lights to, basically get a lot more light in the case, but at least unlike other brands, ASUS has given you the option to have some RGB lights on your 1060, and not a lot of 1060s have RGB lights. So this is a big +1, I guess, for ASUS. They're giving you the possibility to at least make your build look a little bit cooler. Now, my other complaint is that for a mid-range card, it's actually really big, like physically big. In fact, it's actually longer than my 1080 for the win, so you need to have a case that's big enough to sport the damn thing. But if you do have something like an S340 from NZXT, or like an R5 from Fractal Design, you should be fine. There should be no problems whatsoever. But enough about aesthetics. How does the card perform? Well, to say the very least, it's excellent. I have to say that I'm really surprised by how far ASUS has come over the years, and this product is pretty much what you can really ask for in terms of quality. And yes, for a Republic of Gamers range product, it's actually not just something that they've just slapped, the Republic of Gamers logo on like so many other products ASUS has done in the past. Now it's not about just the look of something, but it's also about the substance. And the card is built to quality and it performs really well. Now, in terms of overclocks, I was able to hit a constant 2114 MHz boost clock on the card without touching the voltage. And to me, that's pretty crazy. I mean, considering my 1080 for the win, which is a pretty high premium 1080, could barely hit 2050 MHz, this is a great card for overclocking. At least this one was, thanks to the Silicon Lottery. But I think most of these cards should be able to hit over 2000 MHz, and that's still pretty good for a 1060. Hell, the standard out-of-the-box OC mode boost clock, so that's not with overclocks from me, just the OC mode boost clock, was 2076 MHz, and it averaged around 2050 MHz in the end. So hitting 2000 plus MHz on the boost is very, very good out of the box, and it was actually really nice to see that ASUS has actually made a card that is actually worth the weight that they put behind it. Now, I will let you see the benchmark soon, but honestly, this may be the best 1060 card I've seen to date in terms of just aesthetics, features, quality, but also the performance. You know, there aren't a lot of 1060s that have, you know, that kind of factory OC right out of the box. So yeah, it is going to cost you a premium, especially right now if you're an Aussie. This card is retailing for around $500 on PC Case Gear. Now, I know some people overseas think $500 is a lot, and it is still, but it's kind of standard considering an RX 480 is about $400 here. But yeah, something like an RX 480 does seem more enticing at that kind of price point. But if you're in the US as well, it's much the same story, with this retailing at $329, and I believe that's even before taxes, so it's going to cost you even more. So something like an RX 480 for, you know, $250 looks way, way better if you just want raw performance. But honestly, after having this card in my system, I could really barely notice that my 1080 was gone, because I primarily game at 1080p. So of course this card's going to do well at that point, because, you know, you're going to hit bottlenecks and I don't have that great of a CPU. But at 1440p and 4K, it was a bit of a different story. I only ran some very quick benchmarks, but I didn't really include them in this video because I think that the 1060 is a 1080p gaming card. It's not directed at 1440p gamers, and, you know, if you want something like that, you're going to get a 1070 or a 1080. So my view is I only benchmark the card really at what it's used for and what it's actually aimed at. If you want to game at 4K, you're going to need to invest in something like a Titan XP or some 1080s in SLI. I don't really believe that you should be using a 1060. But also, unfortunately, I couldn't actually do any GTA 5 benchmarks because they just added the Bikers DLC and it was a huge download, and I just wasn't able to benchmark it in time. That's primarily because my internet is very potato and won't download game updates fast enough for the deadlines, but I'll try and do a follow-up video with this card for those kind of benchmarks if I can. Now, if you want to really see some 1440p benchmarks, I'll try and fit them in. I'll really try if you guys leave some comments. And the last thing that I wanted to say was that, yes, even though this is, you know, a premium, you're getting something that's really, really good. You know, you're getting something that's value for money, in my opinion, and I'll touch a little bit on that later. But enough chitter chatter. Without further ado, here are the benchmarks and the temperatures.
Oh, is it what do you see as you twist your tiles beneath our feet? What do you see?
So with the benchmarks out of the way, I'm going to give you my wrap up on this card. Would I buy this card if I was looking into something in the mid-range? Yes, absolutely. If I knew what I was getting, I definitely would. Now, the reason why I say that is because it offers a little something of everything. Sure, it isn't the best value for money solely off performance, but if you look at value beyond performance, you got to see what it has. It has 3 fans, a backplate, good cooling, good acoustics, RGB lighting, and a hefty overclock that, in my opinion, makes it worth the purchase. The 8% overclock actually turned out to be 19%, so to me, it's worth it in that sense. You know, you get a little bit more lifespan on your card, you get a backplate to, you know, have a little bit more rigidity, and you get the RGB lighting and 3 extra fans, so the cooling is really good, and you have a card that looks really good. Now sure, you can go for the best value option, especially if you have a case that maybe you don't really care about whatever's in it, or you're not fitting any kind of color scheme, or you're someone who upgrades really often, or you just want the best value for money. Then sure, buy something else. I completely understand that. But if you want something that looks cool, performs the best in the mid-range, in my opinion, and has a lot more value in terms of, overclocking and just the backplate and all those extra features, then this card is for you. Nvidia and ASUS have certainly, in my opinion, accelerated the definition of the mid-range with this GPU. And you could basically play any game at 1080p with high/ultra settings. To me, this is a solid aftermarket GPU. And after testing some other 1060s, particularly my friends' houses, this one takes the cake. I give it really my sense of approval. This 1060 is for the mainstream PC gamer who can spend that little bit more cash to get those extras. It's expensive, but it's stylish. So that's all for today, guys. Give me a like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the review. Give feedback in the comments, and I'll catch you guys in the next video, which should hopefully... No, actually, stuff that. I guarantee you it'll be a CSGO video.